Hi, everybody. Welcome back to school. I know last week we had vacation. Hope everybody had a wonderful vacation. Got out and did some fun things outside. Today it's raining. It's Monday. Um, so today we're going to go on to chapter 17. Hopefully that came out the right way. Chapter 17, and I believe we're back to Pax. All right. Pax watched Gray lap at the river's edge and then stumble back. For 2 days now the foxes had rested across from the war-sick camp, but Gray had not gotten better. When the old fox reached the spicy shade of the hemlock bough, he collapsed. His eyes were hollow and glazed, and he barely flinched when Pax cleaned his neck once more. Pax found the wound even more inflamed. Stay hidden, rest, he thought. Remember, Gray and that other fox got into a fight, and Gray got a bit injured. Actually, a lot injured. He left Gray and climbed upstream to a place he had discovered where the river narrowed beside a gorge wall, and the underbrush beside it was dense enough that he could move about unseen by the humans, because, as you remember, they are outside of the army camp. He'd had little luck hunting. The area was teeming with mice and rabbits, but they'd scamper from Pax's clumsy attempts to catch them. Besides beetles and unripe berries, he'd been able to swipe only a few crayfish, which Gray didn't like. For half an hour Pax tried. He chased scurrying voles and hopping wrens, and once a sunning frog. But each time he sprang, his jaws snapped around only air. He grew hungrier with each failure. He wanted meat, for himself and for his weakened companion. The rich smells from the camp just tormented him. He leaped into the water. The current was swift there, but midway across, 3 boulders rested against one another to form a secure perch. From there, Pax had a clear view downstream to the humans. More had come. A few were women, but most were men. Pax checked for his boy constantly because the father was still here and because he sensed that his home was not far away. But only full-grown humans appeared, no boys. Many of them were in the field now. Some were down near the river bank, unrolling wires directly across from Gray, which made Pax uneasy. But the soldiers did not seem interested in anything except their work. Pax had learned their routine. Each morning, 2 of them entered the tent that his senses told him was full of food. Then these 2 would cook at the fire, and the other war-sick would gather to eat. Afterward, they all toiled, they all worked in the field, in the vehicles, unloading more and more machinery, but no one went near the grub tent until dusk, when the same 2 men would cook the evening food, and then call the others to gather. It was mid-afternoon. Pax watched for a while longer to be certain the war-sick were occupied, and then he crossed over the remaining span of rushing water along a fallen tree. Belly to the ground, he made his way across the ridge to a spot above the old mill. There he paused to survey the scene. 3 men were positioned at the encampment just below him. They huddled over new equipment on the south edge of the mill, where 2 thick walls met. The rest of the humans were in the field. Some rolled spools of wire to the holes they had dug near the riverbank. Others lowered boxes into these holes and then shoveled dirt over them. 2 pair had crossed the river. They were digging holes in the far bank, some directly below the hemlock where Gray was resting. Pax knew that the humans would not scent Gray, and that Gray would not venture out while they were near. Still, he bristled in anxiety. He would move the wounded fox to a safer place tonight. Pax darted to the north edge of the mill ruins, near the tents and vehicles. There, a birch tree angled out from the stone wall. Pax stopped short. He had been here before. This place. The tree with its peeling white bark, the walls, the field below scented with wild onions and grass and the faintest odor of tar. He recognized them all. He had been here with his boy long ago as a kit. The scene returned. Sticks. Peter and 3 other boys had rushed each other from these stone walls, whooping and brandishing sticks. They had been laughing, but those swinging sticks had made Pax uneasy. He had shadowed Peter, yipping at the other boys when they came too near, until Peter had tied him to this very tree. Pax had whined and chewed at the rope the rest of the afternoon. Peter had been here. Pax sniffed the tree and the base of the wall thoroughly, but he could find no trace of his boy now. The war-sick men, though, their scent was everywhere, strong and dangerous. Pax's gut tightened. He checked the tents until he was certain there was no movement around them. Then he made a dash for the grub tent, grub his food. At the corner he paused, checked again, and then slipped under a flap in the tent. Inside, meat hung from tables, heaped with onions and potatoes, a bonanza for his taking. Pax sprang and seized a bunch of ham, tearing it from its hook, and darted out of the tent with the heavy prize in his mouth. He ran hard uphill, behind the walls, and back through the shrubby wood. At the river he dropped the ham and gulped down a meal of salty meat. He tore the joint apart and buried 2 large hunks in the sandy soil at the river's edge, and then marked its area. He picked up the remaining piece, lush with meat and fat that would nourish Gray for days, and he carried it over the fallen trunk. He paused on the pile of boulders to survey the camp again. The humans had disappeared. A new odor, faint but menacing, hung in the air. Pax recognized it. When he was a yearling, the father had brought a fan to his boy's room. Pax had hated that dark electrical scent coming off the wire between the fan and the wall. One night, when the odor was especially dangerous, Pax had chewed through the wire as if killing a snake. Pax's every instinct urged him to run from the menacing scent, but he would not leave without Gray. And just then, he saw the old fox stagger out from beneath the hemlock bough, making his way back to the river. Gray tripped. Instantly, the scorched air smell sizzled up from the spot like an earth-born bolt of lightning, and at the same second, the riverbank exploded. Soil and rock and river and turf blew up in a furious roar and then fell back to the cratered earth like harsh black rain. Pax dropped the ham and barked for Gray. His ears rang in a shuddering silence. The war-sick poured out from behind the walls. From their cries, Pax knew they were excited. They ran down the field, splashed across the river, and spread out over the smoking bank. After several moments of searching, they made their way back to the camp. When the last of the war-sick had returned, Pax tore down the gorge. The gray hemlock bough lay against Gray's chest, cleaved from the tree. Pax nosed his friend's muddy cheek, pawed at his body. He sniffed Gray's muzzle. There was breath there, but just barely. Pax lay down shoulder to shoulder with the old fox pressing tight in full company. He could offer only witness, but nothing else was asked. Linked with Gray's final memories, he heard the song of an Arctic bird instead of the human shouts. Instead of the ashy haze that hung over them, he saw with Gray a vast blue bowl of sky. Instead of lying on gritted ground, he tumbled with Gray and his brother Kits across the snowy tundra spiked with starry blue flowers. He purred with Gray under his silver mother's rough tongue, tasted her warm milk, felt the weight of her chin resting over his newborn skull. And then there was peace. So he was thinking of all of these things as Gray was slowly dying. The old fox was still. Pax rose. He pressed his forehead into his friend's cheek. He reared back and bayed, heedless of whether the war-sick heard. And then he ran. There was no joy in the running this time, but there was relief that his body served him. He ran and he ran, north through the dusk, north through the night. As dawn crested, he entered the challenger's territory, and still he ran. The yellow fox charged out to face him, but fell back from the determination of Pax's course, and he let him pass. Pax galloped down the cliff, tore across the valley bottom, and strained up the final long rise to the meadow. Midway he stopped and lifted his head. 3 foxes watched him approach. They were familiar to him now. Gray's mate, still big-bellied from kits, Runt, half her size, nearby. Bristle did not stand with him. Her bright fur shone at the base of the large pine that towered over the meadow, the pine under which her sister had died. The scent of Gray's death was on Pax's fur, but the foxes knew already that Gray had died. Pax padded up the rest of the way. When he reached Gray's den, he lifted his head and wailed the notes of grief. 3 foxes answered in kind. Gray's mate approached. She sniffed Pax's nose and then his body. She learned of the fight, which did not kill her mate, and of the human's explosion, which did kill him. She learned also that Pax had protected Gray, had fed him, had cleaned his wounds, for which she was grateful. And then she learned the news Gray had died trying to obtain. It is not safe for us in the South. It is not safe, said Pax. Gray's mate walked away, her belly swaying. His message delivered, Pax dropped to the grass, exhausted. His friend Runt came to claim the space beside him, and Pax was glad to allow the little fox to groom him. Bristle watched from the base of the pine above them. Pax slept fitfully through the afternoon, plagued by dreams in which his boy was tangled in smoking wires. Finally, as the moon rose in an indigo sky, he got to his feet. He breathed the scent of the foxes, linked in grief over the loss of their silver center. He was linked to them by the same grief, and he knew he would be welcomed in this valley if he chose to stay. But his dreams urged him back to the war-sick camp. As he was about to leave, he sensed Bristle tearing down the hill, and he waited. "Where are you going?" Pax shared his new understanding that the exploding earth was war and that the wires caused death. He shared his fear that his boy might come upon them if he joined his father, and his determination was to protect Peter. "These explosions," asked Bristle, "they would kill humans?" "Yes," said Pax. She sprang around to face him. "Then leave them," said Bristle. Pax ignored her. He gathered himself and leaped, and he hit the ground at a run. So Bristle wants him to leave those wires because she knows that if the explosions continue, that will hurt the humans, and then the humans will go away. But Pax can't do that because he knows one of those explosions might involve Peter. So he's off and running, and we'll see what becomes of him now and if he finds Peter. So the next chapter will be about the humans. And I'm going to do another chapter today. In fact, I might do a couple and then just list them. So look by their chapters. Some chapters I might have to do partway, and then they'll be continued on the next one. So what I want to do is get through the stories because I have another book that I want to start on the American Revolution. So go ahead if you want to listen to a couple a day, that's fine. All right, stay tuned for chapter 18. All right, see you soon.